When Lamborghini launched the Gallardo in 2003, they started a decade that would rewrite their history and give car nerds a whole bunch of stats to recite, like it's the best-selling Lamborghini ever made. Over half the Lamborghinis on the road are Gallardos, and by the time they finished their production, they'd made over 30 versions and 14,022 cars. But now it's time for the next chapter. And that chapter starts where the last one left off, with a supercar powered by a naturally aspirated V10 that has all-wheel drive and a 7-speed gearbox and is named after a fighting bull. This chapter is titled Huracán. It's made from the most advanced materials, uses the best tech inside and out, and according to the press release, is as easy to use on a trip to the racetrack as it is on the daily drive into work. Although, unless you want your company's productivity to drop, taking it to work is probably not the best idea. Because everybody, even those people who say they know nothing about cars, will spend as much time as possible loitering and taking selfies, which is understandable in the presence of something so beautiful. Lamborghini's designers have got a lot of fancy technical terms to describe this car, but I can sum it up in one word: magic. This car is not as detail-laden as its bigger brother, the Aventador, but it is no less fascinating for the simple reason that no matter how many pictures you've seen, you just can't appreciate it until you see it in the metal. The first time I saw this car, it was tucked away in Lamborghini Joburg's dimly lit garage, and it quite literally gave me chills. The design is so elegantly simple, with a few consistent ideas appearing regularly, like the hexagon shape. But its simplicity is mesmerizing. It's the kind of car you could spend hours looking at and still never get bored. As for the interior, there is a heavy Audi influence, but that doesn't mean it's disappointing. A lot of the exterior design themes are carried over to the interior for a superbly crafted cabin that has got some impressive tech. The best bit? The virtual TFT instruments. It has got a full house of kit, and for a full-on sports car, it is surprisingly comfortable. And quite theatrical. The starter button with its weapons-grade firing switch cover and the reverse gear selector are not very subtle reminders that you're driving something that isn't exactly an everyday machine. We covered over 300 kilometers on a road trip to Clarence, and besides its inherently hard ride, it was far from uncomfortable. It's cozy without being cramped, and thanks to the Audi influence, most of it is pretty easy to use. It is still a supercar, so it has its idiosyncrasies. For example, every time I start this car, it tells me a service is due, even though it's only done 760 kilometers. Then there's the seatbelt, which isn't adjustable and takes some getting used to. The fancy TFT screen has a menu system that isn't the most intuitive. And then there are the window winders. If you want to wind the window down, you have to push the button up. But none of those things really matter when you think about this car's real talents. In no particular order: power, noise, grip, and the ability to make you feel like you are the best driver in the world. At regular speeds when you're in town or cruising on the highway, it is surprisingly docile. The last Lamborghini I drove was easy to use, but you always got the sense that it wouldn't hesitate to eat you, given half the chance. This car is a lot more restrained, but it's not soft, a fairly obvious fact given the 449 kilowatt 560 Newton meter V10 sitting just behind your cranium. Of course you'd expect that engine with that much power to give a car that weighs just 1,400 kilograms incredible straight line speed, and it does. This car will do the kinds of speeds that will upset a lot of people and no doubt get you locked up without any question. But just as impressive is how stable this car is when doing those kinds of speeds and even under heavy braking. And that's thanks to a very clever piece of design. Look carefully at the rear of the car and you'll notice nothing. No pop-up wing, no massive aero bit to make the rear more stable. That's because the whole car is designed to be an aerodynamic device. The front intakes help increase pressure on the front axle. The lip spoiler and diffuser at the rear manage downforce. Lamborghini have created something that delivers a drive that is as impressive as the looks are striking. I'm always a bit worried when I see the phrase electric power steering, because although those systems are more efficient, they often delete a lot of the feel, and that's as true in a Renault Megane as it is, apparently, in a Lamborghini Huracan. The feedback that you get just feels a little bit artificial, although it is super accurate, and when you combine it with all-wheel drive grip, it gives this car cornering ability that is epic. If you do end up owning one of these, or even if you get the chance to drive one, make sure you do more than just plant your foot on a straight piece of road. Find it the most challenging bit of road you can. Chances are you'll back off before it does. It's poised and balanced, it switches direction like a fly and gives you the confidence to enjoy its impressive agility. Add all of that to an instant shifting 7-speed dual clutch gearbox and a noise that makes your ears want to jump off your head and dance, and you have one incredibly good way to spend 5 million rand. The Lamborghini Huracan is the successor to the Gallardo, but it's not just a moderate reinvention of the modern classic. Lamborghini didn't take the best bits of the old car and just put them into something new. True, they do have a lot in common, but the Huracan is a very different car. Prettier, more powerful, more technically advanced, much easier to use, and yet still a true Lamborghini and an incredible car to drive. The V10 motor that sits just centimeters behind the driver's head adds more than just awesome power to the drive, it sounds incredible too. With all that power, a 7-speed dual clutch box, all-wheel drive grip and incredible stability, the Huracan is an immense supercar, even if the steering doesn't always feel perfect.